p.m. Eastern, veteran journalist Ray Hanania explores issues facing Arab Americans on WNZK AM 690 radio in Detroit and on WDMV AM 700 radio in Washington, D.C. And now, your host, Ray Hanania. Watch the show live on Arab News Facebook page.
And welcome, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us live on live radio in Detroit and Washington, D.C., live streaming on the U.S. Arab Radio Network at arabradio.us and on the Facebook page of Arab News Newspaper, the voice of a changing region at facebook.com/Arab News. We are going to explore two issues today that I think you're going to find fascinating. The identity and challenges facing Christian Arabs in America. First, with the Christian American Egyptian elected official, an Egyptian American Arab elected official, Mary Basta, who is the mayor of Bolingbrook in suburban Chicagoland in Illinois. Mayor Basta immigrated with her family when she was very young, settled in Nashville, Tennessee, which is just phenomenal. There's a big Arab community there. I got some of the numbers we'll go over. But in 2003, she and her family moved to Bolingbrook, Illinois, outside of the suburbs of Chicago. Bolingbrook is the 16th largest municipality in the state with nearly 75,000 residents. This was not a small election. She did phenomenally. In 2019, she successfully ran for and was elected a trustee in the village of Bolingbrook, and she was then appointed mayor by her board colleagues in August 2020, a year later, a year and a half. And then in 2021, she ran for her first election as mayor, and she was elected by a large majority of Bolingbrook's voters to a full term of 4 years as Bolingbrook mayor. How does an Arab American with no experience in politics but great education and upbringing and family values rise up so quickly to become the mayor of an important city like Bolingbrook? She showed a great interest and concern in her community. Mayor Mary Basta is going to tell us more about her life, her family's immigrant story, and her rise in election, something that I think a lot of Arab Americans want to really listen to. It'll help them identify when they decide to run for office. Hopefully in the future, we'll see more and more of that. Then we're going to talk with Sir Rateb Rabie, a Palestinian who was born in Jordan. Sir Rateb is the founder of the Know Thy Heritage Foundation and the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation, which advocate for Christian Arab rights and Palestinian rights in America. Sir Rateb has been working with the Christian Arab Americans and Middle East communities for many years and will help us understand some of the challenges they face today. The title Sir, by the way, comes from a very prestigious honor of Knight Commander of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre, a Vatican chivalric order. Arabs are still immigrants in this country, and we'll go over some of the numbers later. But I think you're going to really enjoy these two interviews that I did with first Mary Basta, the mayor of Bolingbrook, and then afterwards we will talk with Sir Rateb Rabie of the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation and the Know Thy Heritage Foundation. But before we start our interviews, we're going to take a quick break, so stay tuned. We will be right back with our program right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
Were you recently at the emergency room, urgent care, or at your doctor's office being told you need a hand, wrist, or elbow specialist? At the Katranji Hand Center, we offer the latest techniques in hand, wrist, and elbow care. From sports injuries to work injuries to everyday hand, wrist, and elbow problems, the specialists at Katranji Hand Center are here to get you back on track. Call us in Troy today at 248-869-4263 or visit us at katranjihandcenter.com to schedule your appointment today.
Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So if you want to be sure, swab and test your nose for answers. It's good to know. Find testing information and resources at michigan.gov/COVID test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
And now I want to introduce our next guest, Mary Basta. She is the mayor of Bolingbrook, who I introduced earlier in the program. Mayor Basta, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
And you're one of our first Egyptian American politicians that I've interviewed. I've known many Egyptian Americans like M. Sharif Bassioni, years and years, a great guy. We met many, many years ago when I was doing stand-up comedy. But tell us a little bit first about your family story. How did they get here and when did they get here from Egypt? And how did they become part of the American fabric of society?
Well, it's a very good story and a very long one, but I'll summarize it for you. We moved here actually when I was 5 years old. So giving away my age, that was 51 years ago. And my father's younger brother lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and he and my mom wanted to just come visit him. And they came and loved it. And off on a plane they go to pick me up, and we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. That's where we actually started. It was in the South.
Well, why did they come here? I mean, from Egypt?
So at the time, there was a lot of insecurities, instabilities in Egypt, some of it political, some of it religious. And as you know, I'm Coptic Orthodox. So my father at the time felt that maybe the future there wasn't as bright as he would want it to be to raise a family, and therefore he uprooted. He was very extremely well off in Egypt, very popular, very well-known journalist, and ended up coming to the States and basically starting from scratch.
And then, so you come to this country, and does your family face the discrimination that maybe when, even like my parents, when they came here, they left to get away from conflict and found a different kind of conflict, a little bit different. People didn't understand who we were as Arabs. They didn't believe that Arabs were also Christian, Coptic, Orthodox, Lutheran, Catholic, it doesn't matter. The idea of an Arab Christian seemed odd to many Americans. Did you face that initially growing up?
You know, I faced a lot of things. Mind you, I was 5 years old. I was starting in elementary school, and my parents were basically working around the clock. So I can't tell you per se what struggles they faced. I just know they had to work extremely hard to secure a good life for me. I, on the other hand, in school, talk about bullying. Today's kids have not seen bullying until you see a little foreign girl growing up in a very white, I'm going to use the term redneck, portion of Nashville, Tennessee. So I definitely know what bullying is. I definitely felt it growing up as being someone who was different, not just in the way I looked, but also in the culture. Because as you know, Middle Eastern culture is very different from that of the US, especially for females.
Yes. And for those people who are listening, they think, wow, why would an Arab go to Nashville? But the truth is, in Tennessee, there are a lot of Arabs there, a lot of Christian Arabs in the South that have gone there, and some of them for religious reasons, some of them because of opportunity. It wasn't just to New York, Michigan, Detroit, or even Chicago. They were all over. What brought you to the Chicagoland area?
So I was working for Sheraton Music City in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a hospitality professional, if you will. And opportunities came here in Chicago, of which I took and transferred here. Mind you, it was summer when I came, and they had the horse and buggies on Lakeshore Drive, and I felt like it was Alexandria and Cairo. I didn't do enough research because God knows the winters were horrendous, but it was my job that brought me here.
Do our Egyptian Americans cohesive community? I mean, you think, like Palestinians, because of the conflict in the Middle East, we all tend to know each other, identify with each other, and impose ourselves on other people like you and others. But do Egyptians, are they as close together, or are they spread out? Is there that identity?
There's a passion and there's an identity, and when we gather, we're all for one and one for all, but we're not as grouped together, if you will, as maybe the Palestinians or the Jordanians or even the Lebanese. So you'll find Egyptians in south suburbs of Burr Ridge. There's the young couples, the young families are in the city of Chicago, and then there's also a big population in the northern suburbs. We're also in Wisconsin and on the border of Indiana. So we're not as combined in one area, if you will, as many of the other Arab nationalities.
So your family then comes to Bolingbrook. I think it was what, in 2003, if I'm correct, right around 2003.
Yeah, so when I came to Chicago, I lived in the city like all the single fun people do, and then I decided to do that wonderful thing we call marriage in the year 2000, and decided to have a family. And city wasn't exactly the best place for that, so we did build our first home in Bolingbrook in 2003.
And how does a Egyptian American Coptic Christian from the hospitality industry from Nashville end up becoming the mayor of the 16th, 17th biggest community in the state of Illinois, and probably one of the top 100 cities in the country? How does that happen? What got you to turn into in the direction of politics and public service? What was it?
That's the golden question, isn't it? Like, how did I get where I'm at? This is so far from my life plan. I think it was truly the public service part of me. Yeah, when I decided to have my kids, I left the hospitality industry because it's a 12, 15-hour a day job, and I wanted to raise my family. So as my children got a little bit older, I started helping and volunteering, and I feel that that's very important, and that was kind of embedded in me from the Nashville days. My father was very involved in local politics. So I started helping out at schools and then with their soccer club and eventually in the city of Bolingbrook, just any way I could. I feel that it's important if you want to have an opinion, if you want to help make any kind of change or make a difference, you have to be involved. And so I started out, actually, I got on the radar of helping with the previous mayor's campaign a little bit, dabbled in it a little bit. And after he was reelected, I got appointed to one of the commissions, which is the Plan Commission, which is a pretty big deal, and later became the chair of that Plan Commission, which put me on the radar to then run for a position of trustee.
And you're a unique Arab American and Christian, Arab, of course, Coptic Christian, from family from Egypt. But what's interesting about you is most of the Palestinians I know who get involved in politics are doing it because they have some type of challenge connected to the Middle East that they want to address and correct. It doesn't sound like you got into politics because you wanted to change the politics back home in Egypt where your parents came from. It sounds like you got involved in politics because you felt this need to make the community where your family lives a better place for everybody, including your family. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I still say that I'm not really involved in politics, but more public service. This will always be home to my children, where I can say Egypt is my home or even Nashville, but Bolingbrook will be where my kids were born and where they grew up and where they graduated from. So I want that to be a place that they're proud of, to bring their kids back here or even grandkids and say, this is where I grew up, this is where I was born, this is where my soccer fields, this was my school. And for that to be something that you're proud of, it takes effort and it takes work and it takes long-term planning and thinking. So putting the right people in place, putting the right policies in place, and then watching them get carried out from that point.
Is there a lesson in all this in terms of people who get into politics to advocate for something outside of their community? They take years to get into office. They may run 6, 7, or 8 times before they get elected. You move into Bolingbrook, you get involved, you focus on your community. Next thing you know, you're a trustee for about a year and a half, I think. And then your colleagues turn to you and say, you know what? Mary Basta is going to make a great mayor for Bolingbrook. They support you. And then the citizens vote and unanimously elect you as mayor. What's the lesson in that for people who want to get involved in politics? What's the most important thing that people need to remember about politics and public service?
I think sincerity. People can see through fakeness. People can see people who are disingenuous. So what is your passion? What is your reason or your drive or motivation behind it? I often tell people it's not about me, it's about we. So it's not what I want, it's what's better for the community, what's long-term thinking, planning. And that probably what has helped me is my corporate background experience, is being able to see the overall picture, the vision, and pick it apart and see what works. And although this managing or running a municipality is not a business, it kind of is. You have budgets, you have staff, you have lots of bosses, right? I think we have about 76,000 bosses here. And, people say it takes thick skin. It absolutely does. It's hard to sometimes hear the opinions of people on things that they're not very well versed on or don't even know about. And then social media has not been always the best. It's a great way to get the word out for things, but some people just get behind those keyboards and what can I say?
And I'm gonna restate this because I think this is so important. You didn't run for office because you wanted to change the Middle East. You ran for office because you wanted to make where you are important. And I bet, as somebody who made Bolingbrook important, when people from the American non-Arab community meet you, I bet it has a much more positive impact on how they view your views on the Middle East, because they know your priority is them first before the Middle East. Does that make a big difference, you think, when you're dealing with people?
I think so. I feel that it's very important to communicate and educate. People they hear certain things, and in the absence of hearing the real story or the truth or becoming more educated, they believe what they hear because they don't know any better. So I am able to have dialogues with people and explain to them my background and explain to them our culture and our heritage. I like to go to events of other cultures and learn about them as well as other religions. And like you alluded in the beginning, many people say, oh, you're from the Middle East, you're Arab, and you're Muslim. So that by itself opens the dialogue of, no, there's more to it. And then, there's the Egyptian, there's the Arab, there's the Muslim, there's the Christian. And what is Orthodoxy? What is, I tell them I'm Coptic Orthodox. They say, what's that? That's Greek Orthodox? I'm like, no, those are from Greece. Copts are from Egypt. So it is a good segue to educating people on what it means to be from the Middle East, our culture, our heritage, and more of our background.
Just as an Egyptian American, though, what do you think are the biggest challenges Egyptian Americans face in this country? Is there one challenge? Is there an array of challenges? Or is it any different from any other ethnic group that comes to this country from a foreign country?
I think Egyptians or Middle Eastern in general is a little bit unique. We have a hard time because we can't let go. We always are carrying the burden on our shoulders of where we're from and the issues that we face. We underwent a revolution and we changed 2 presidents, and you're always carrying that, and you always feel like this is my home, this is my country and my culture, and what can I do to help? But so for us, we have lots of different issues that we encounter here. Both, one, We aren't pure Americans. And so therefore you always feel that you have to work harder. You feel that you have to achieve more. And then from our family, you always have to be this engineer, doctor, dentist, or lawyer, because anything else, then you haven't been successful in your life. So there's definitely some high benchmarks that we instill in ourselves, and our children and our families instill in us, and trying to live up to those expectations is very hard, while still trying to maintain our traditions and our cultures. Some people hold on to those like they're holding on to life, and some people are glad to get rid of them as soon as possible. So it is hard to navigate between being true to yourself, your culture, as well as forward thinking and where your current situation is. It's not always when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Sometimes you have to do as the Greeks do.
So, Mayor Basta, I know that my mother and father wanted me to be a doctor or a grocery store owner. They would have been happy with either one, or even an engineer like my cousins and my brother. But I became a journalist. I wouldn't be a good journalist if I didn't ask you, is there any chance you're thinking of running for higher office, like maybe governor of Illinois?
Absolutely not governor of Illinois. No way, but thank you so much for offering that. But you never know. Never say never, because if you would have asked me 4 years ago, would you ever consider being in politics or running for mayor, I would have thought it was a joke back then. So who knows? Maybe, governor of Nashville. How's that?
I think Nashville is a beautiful city. By the way, I've been there many times. I want you to know that when the time comes, I will be the chairman of the Mary Basta for Governor campaign committee when you decide to do that. But seriously, Mayor Basta, it really is always a pleasure to talk to you. You're always such a good person. We've known each other for a number of years. You did help me with my stand-up comedy when a lot of people didn't want to have anything to do with it. It was just phenomenal to have that support. And I think the lesson, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the lesson from this is, if you want to be successful in politics, be the politician that cares about your community first, locally, that you're running for, and then educate them about other issues that might be important to you that may not be important directly to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is 1,000,000% correct. Totally agree with that. And you're a great comedian, by the way, Ray. I love it.
Thank you so much. I think some people think my journalism is a little funnier than my comedy. But listen, Mayor Mary Basta, she is the mayor of Bolingbrook, one of the, I think I said 17th largest communities in Illinois, which is 17 doesn't sound like much, but when you have over 250, 500 communities in Illinois, that's a huge community. It's not some small little community. It's a big city in the Chicagoland area, and it's a huge responsibility. And your fast rise to that office is remarkable. I think people can learn a lot by studying your background and understanding your thinking process. And I appreciate you joining us on radio to share some of that with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Always great seeing you and conversing with you.
And it's always great talking with Mayor Basta. And, it's going to be hard for me to get used to calling her Mayor Basta, because I've known her for so long, just so smart. The way she won office with such a huge vote. And by the way, it is the 16th largest city in the state of Illinois, with some 75,000 residents in Bolingbrook. And that's no small achievement. That is huge to have won that. So we wish her the best, and we look forward to talking to her in the future. We're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk with our next guest in a more general way about Christian Arabs in the United States, in the Middle East, and maybe even a little bit in South America, with our guest, Sir Rateb Rabie of the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
In a perfect world, everyone would be a perfect driver.
Hands at 9 and 3, everyone.
9 and 3. Everyone would follow all the rules.
Please go ahead and merge. I'll make room.
Thank you, fellow driver.
And nothing unexpected would ever happen. Even the squirrels would know the right time to safely cross the road. In this perfect world, you wouldn't have to wear a seatbelt. But in case you hadn't noticed, we don't live in a perfect world. About 1,000 people in Michigan die each year in vehicle crashes, and thousands more are injured. Wearing your seatbelt reduces your risk of death in a crash by 45% in a car and by 60% in a pickup truck. So until we find a perfect world to drive in, make our imperfect world safer by buckling up. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics, according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, and seafood dinners. Plus, they offer big trays of your favorite food and so much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab is located at 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills and is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So stop in or call Kashat's today at 248-538-9552. That number again, 248-538-9552. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
All right, now I'm like to introduce my guest, Sir Rateb Rabie, Palestinian-born in Jordan, founder of Know Thy Heritage and the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation, as I mentioned during the intro of the program. Sir Rateb, thank you for joining us today. We so appreciate you joining us on radio.
Thank you for having me, Ray.
And, you know, I was doing a program this week on the Christians of the Middle East, and I couldn't think of a better person to talk to than you. You have spent your life addressing Christians from the Middle East, mainly Palestinians, but all Christians. You're active with not just the Know Your Heritage, but the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation. You were one of the founders. It's a powerful and important organization. And I thought you're the person I need to talk to find out how we're doing as Christian Arabs overall, and of course, the situation of Christian Palestinians. Talk to us a little bit about your activism, how you got involved in this, because not too many people do this. So what motivated you to do this and to found the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation?
Okay, that's a good question, because I am my life, came to the States to go to college, got married, and looking at the situation, I've been active for Palestine as volunteer for a long time. In 1998, I led the commemorating the Nakba for 50 years. And I worked on it for 1 year with all the Arab American organizations, AAI, ADC, Birzeit Society, Ramallah Federation. All we worked on it day and night for 1 year, and we raised $100,000. We put ads in the Washington Post, and we did a lot of the quilt, too many things. At the end, we found out we didn't penetrate, the American audience, and all who came are Arabs or Palestinians or Americans already. They are pro-Palestinians. I said, I need to do something different. What I can do in order not to waste my time on preaching to the choir. Then I looked at what's going on. There is one organization has the best advocacy marketing plans, which is the Zionist movement. They did everything, perfect, that's why they are successful. And when I saw them becoming Christian more than the Christians, and they got to the evangelicals in order to help what you call Israel. I said, why not us as Palestinian Christians? We are part of, we are into the Bible, Act 2, 11 to 16. The Arab there were there at the Pentecost where the church started. And this is, we are not converts, we are, original Christians since Jesus Christ. And I said, I need to do this. And I started working on it. I created the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation with a priest in the Holy Land, and went to the churches, and I found out everybody interested into this topic. And I found out that a lot of Americans, they want an organization belong to them because we are telling them, the Holy Land is your spiritual home. You are not a friend of ADC or AI. You are, the Holy Land. That's, made it clear that, this is their organization, and this is what we are suffering in Palestine. And this is why I did defeat the concept where they say the conflict in Palestine is it is a religious conflict between Islam and Judaism. And it is not, it is a political one between Arab Palestinians and Israelis over the land, because we are the Christians suffering as much as the Palestinian Muslims. That's where, they start people thinking, where did that come? And everybody starts talking about the Palestinian Christians. Even when I started that, a lot of colleagues and activists said, Rateb, why you are doing that? We are all Palestinian. We are all Arabs. Why are you doing this? I said, just give me a chance. I'm copying what they are doing, and that's 2-3 years later shows that I am not crazy. I went through the right channel, and people start listening, and more churches listening. And I didn't go to the evangelicals. I went to the mainstream Christians, Catholics, which there are 85 million Americans, which they support Israel because of ignorance. I went to the mainstream Protestant churches like Presbyterians, Lutherans, Methodists. They are all not on the right side. They are wants to know the truth, and that's what the success I have. And 3 years later, I had two choices: either I continue with my advocacy, or and that's it, and I have to drop my business or stick to my business, because I cannot do both. I decided to go for activism and start that.
And I think it's very important what you emphasized. This is a political issue. This isn't a religious issue. Christians and Muslims are together. We suffer the same way in Palestine. We identify together against being oppressed and demanding our rights. Americans, though, often don't understand that. And what's ironic to me is America is a Christian country, and yet they don't identify with the Christian Palestinians. Why is that?
Because the propaganda by the Zionists, they let you know that we are not really Christians. We are just using Christianity for Palestine. But we showed them that we are different, and that was activism we started as Christians, and they start understanding. We followed that by fact-finding missions. We start taking pilgrims on the Palestinian tourism way and put them in Bethlehem and let them visit the Holy Land in areas where they don't have holy places, and they start understanding the Christianity and the Palestinian Christians.
I tell you, as a Christian Palestinian myself, my whole life, I've always been surprised why Christian Americans never sympathized with what happened to us. And I think you gave a good explanation. But that's a challenge that we face, don't we, as Christian Arabs? The Christian Palestinians, I think, are a big segment of that population of Christian Arabs. But there are a lot of Christian Lebanese, there are Christian Egyptians. We're going to talk with a Christian Egyptian after this segment in a little bit. Is it the division in our nationalities, the different Arab identities, that causes our problem? Why aren't we all Arab, or why aren't we all Christian and Muslim fighting for the same thing? Why? What undermines us, in your opinion?
It is two things. The one thing is that some Arabs, they don't understand there are Arab Christians. We are, in the Levant area, more understandable because we are mixed Muslim and Christians, And with that, we started thinking about why cannot the Christian, because in Christianity, we separate government from religion. And, that's why we don't have to be advocate as Christians. Yes, I am Christian, and most of the political parties in the Middle East started by Christians, but they weren't saying we are Christians. And now I am voice this out, as we know, we are Christians. We are here that we are Arab Christians. We are not Christian Arabs, and that's made the difference in advocacy, our advocacy for the Arabs, for Palestinian. And with that, I became representing the Arab Christians in by default in the United States. I was in a conference, in Turkey, and they asked me, the Syrians, they had a meeting with the Prime Minister at one time. They asked me to come and represent the Syrian Christians, And I went and I talked about it. They weren't happy about what I was saying, but anyway, but that's how they look at it. Now, then I extended that to the Egyptians, and then it was too big of a mission, and I just kept focusing on the Palestinian because this is where we want. But I said how we can work together as Muslim and Christian. We did during the Daesh era. I extended hand to the Muslims. I said, look, I am willing to help you with the Islamophobia if you help me to help the Christians in Iraq and in Syria. And we work together, and you protect them, and I am work and I speak about Islam and who are the Muslims and who are the Islamists. And this is where I start working, helping in clearing the concept of Islamophobia and who are the Muslims. And we work together. At one point in a mosque in Virginia, we had the best fundraiser for the Christians who fled from Iraq to Jordan. And it was all from Muslim people who donated that money. Yes, we did that, but as Christian and Muslims somewhere else, still we have to prove that we are Arabs, but we are Christians. And this is as clear as that. We need to educate sometimes our Muslims, and then we can move forward on that level.
Do you think that Christian Arabs find it too easy to step back because they're in a Christian country like the United States? They could assimilate without ever identifying it as Arab or with the problems, the political problems from the Middle East. Is that part of our problem, that many Christian Arabs don't become active or activists for this bigger issue. Muslims, on the other hand, are identifiable, and in the U.S., they're singled out. But Christian Arabs, you can look at us and say, oh, maybe he's Mexican. Maybe he's Italian. He goes to my church. He's not different. So it makes it easy for us to step back and say, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to do anything. Is that one of our problems?
It is not, actually, a lot of Christians are activists, but they are acting as Arabs, not as Christians. And,
I get it.
It's like my name is Rateb Rabie. It is an Arab name, it's not a Christian name. And wherever I go, and when I went to Salvador to reach out there, they first ask me on the side, are you Muslim or Christian? And why you are, if you are Muslim, how you are running a Christian organization? I told them, no, I'm original Christian. I am Christian, but my name is Arabic because, when they called me Rateb, they didn't think about Christianity. They thought about where I am from. That's one thing. The other thing is that our people, because you are immigrated to a Christian country, usually we want to get together and we go to church for the social events, not really for praying sometimes. You do
right.
Praying, then we have the coffee hour, then I have to socialize. I did the opposite. I went to the American church, and I converted the American church from pro-Israelis to pro-Palestinians because I start talking. My wife, yes, is Ecuadorian. They thought I'm Hispanic as you're thinking. And one time I have a priest from the Holyland came, to the church. He preached, and then I stood next to him, and I'm a Eucharistic minister. I started giving the Eucharist, and next to him, and and he told them this is one of my parishioners. And before that, they used to talk about the Arabs, the Palestinians. These are terrorists and all of that. Then after he came, and they were impressed, and they felt that it is from the Holy Land, preaching about the Holy Land. And I went to them. I said, now, what you are going to do? You have a terrorist Eucharistic minister. What are you going to do about it? Then they realized that you have to switch and to have better understanding. And the whole church did a partnership with the church in Palestine. You need to get out of even the Muslims too. They go to mosques to have more Arabs, more things, and the Christian go to church. We have to go and reach out to the Americans, regardless of their religion, as the Jewish they do, and this is how they affect them, and they have friends. We don't have too many American friends. We are always close, in our society about we need to get together as Arabs. Oh, he's an Arab, he is this, he's that, but we need to get more American friends in order to bring them to our side and let them know we are Americans, then we are, Arabs and Christians. We are Arab Americans, but we are Christians or Muslims. This is how it should be.
And I know one of the things that you mentioned, I think, is, of course, we're Palestinian Christian. We care about Palestine. We care about human rights for Palestinians. We work with the Muslim community on that. But aren't there a lot of Christian Arab communities in the United States, even in South America? How strong are they? Do we use our potential? In other words, as Christian Arabs, do we maximize our ability to change things? Are we using what we have to exact change that is fair to us?
Okay, let me just give you an example of why, what's happening. We are, regardless, Arab, Muslim, or Christian, we immigrate to the Western world. The Christian, they melt faster than the Muslim because of religion. That's one thing. But we are forgetting. We forget what's happening there, and we start thinking as Americans, as Latin Americans. I went to Salvador, and I went to Honduras. We have over 200,000 Palestinian. Mostly Christians are in Honduras, and about over 100 in Salvador. Nobody reached out to them. like Israel reach out to their Jewish, and they do a lot of things, where they connect them with what you call Israel in order to keep them, to give them identity they don't have. And it's not identity as Israeli, their identity is our Jewish religion. And I found out that they don't know that they are really Palestinian. And some of them immigrated over there during Safarballik, during the Ottoman Empire, where they were persecuted the Christians. And sometimes, they felt they have nothing to do with there. I went there and I started working and registering my other organization, KTH, as in there in order to revive the Palestinian identity, culture, and heritage, and to let them know what's going on there. And that's one of the things, we have. I have two incidents where I have in Honduras about 8-9 years ago, when they voted for recognizing Palestine in the General Assembly as a state. And they have a big events for the president. They put me on the table where he was sitting. He gave a good speech. And usually I have a gift from the Northern Heritage. If you see the key behind me, I give them the key of Palestine. I said, I want to give you the key of Palestine, but I would like before that, to thank you first for voting for Palestine. But I want to let you know two things. You see, all these people around us, they help building Honduras. They are the one who made Honduras what it is now. One. Second, as a Palestinian, Muslim and Christians, we saved Christianity for over 2,000 years because Islam came in the 7th century. That's mean, and we continue saving Christianity because very important for us that it is the Holy Land. And then, you owe us, we don't owe you. And I'll give you the key of Palestine, to keep supporting it. And we need to work on our Palestinians on how to do advocacy. Still, we don't know how to do advocacy. Now we are better, but we are not really fully organized.
Is it Sir Rateb, is it a mistake to focus just on Palestinians as Christian Arabs in the United States? Wouldn't we be much stronger if we said we were Christian Arabs or Arab Christian, as you point out? Wouldn't that be more effective, where we could then help the Palestinians, we can help the Syrians, because Americans can't tell the difference between Palestinians or Syrians or Jordanians or Lebanese. We're the ones that see the difference, but they can't identify with American Christians. Don't you think? What do you think of that?
We are the Palestinian, we suffer. I am the son of Nakba survival. I'm not just any person. I didn't come here because just school. My parents were kicked out of Jerusalem, and they went to Jordan, where I was born. And this is something, it is in your identity that you.
We've been in this country for years. This conflict's been going on for 75 years. Have we, as Christian Arabs or Arab Christians, have we done enough to get our voices heard so that these things don't happen?
Yes and no. As Arabs, we are Christians, we've done a lot. We are involved in every aspect of advocacy in the United States. But it's not known to the people that, we are Christians, because we just work as Arab, as Palestinians. But on that, did done enough? No, as the whole Arabs, all Palestinians, we didn't do enough because we are not organized. We don't have something where can lead us. We are divided, and this is the problem we have. I'm committed, to Palestine. I raised $30 million from the Americans to Palestine during my work. I did a lot of changes. I made things happening within the church because I felt, I used my title Knight Commander of the Holy Sepulchre, which is a Vatican order, in order to trust me and to listen to me, and as Catholic, not as a Palestinian, but I have the same views as Palestinian, and they have better understanding. And I found out who are our friends. We have a lot of friends in America. We need to reach out to them, but we cannot reach out to them for Arab and Muslim. And Muslim gave us the support, because when I started the organization, the first, the people who endorsed me are Muslims, especially the late Hisham Sharabi. He's the first one. He said, this is a good idea. And the Christian, they were against me because they thought I'm dividing, the Arabs between Muslim and Christian. But finally, they realized what I'm doing. This is something, we need to work on our identity and how we can work on that. Look at, I don't want to talk about our divisions, but we need to work as a Palestinian, will be to start with, on how we can have an umbrella, not coalition, not this, has to have something, where organization can feed the information and how to do advocacy to all Palestinian and to all Arabs and to Americans, how to be on our side. We don't have that. Each one works on his own.
All right. My guess that you are one of the authorities when it comes to American Christians. You've done so much for the community. I wish we've done more as a community, but I think we so appreciate everything you've done. Sir Rateb Rabie, co-founder, founder of Know Thy Heritage and the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation. Sir Rateb, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
And that was a fascinating interview with Sir Rateb Rabie of the Holyland Christian Ecumenical Foundation. Kind of ending today's episode on our focus on Christians. We're going to take a quick break, so stay tuned to our program. We have a few minutes left, but we'll be right back with our program right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most. And make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
And welcome back to the Ray Hanania Show, which is proudly broadcast on the U.S. Arab Radio Network. ArabRadio.us is their website. And also proudly sponsored by Arab News newspaper, a phenomenal newspaper in English. You can read their stories every day. They have an edition in France. They have in Paris. They have an edition in Tokyo. They have an edition in Islamabad. They have editions in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai, and also, of course, in Saudi Arabia, where they're based. And I am the U.S. Special Correspondent for the coverage of U.S. news. We have a bureau in the United Nations with Ifram Kosafi, and we have a number of freelance writers that we work with. Ali Yunus is one, and TJ Kramer is another, and we try to focus on Arab American issues. The most important, and we don't do that enough, and that was why I thought the interview with Mary Basta was so important, because Mary Basta, the mayor of Bolingbrook, is the epitome of what a successful Arab American should be like. She isn't out there on a crusade fighting for some cause 9,000 miles away. What she's doing is she is getting Americans to recognize that she is as American as they are, that she cares about the community where she lives, in this case, Bolingbrook. They recognized that and elected her mayor of Bolingbrook. And I'm telling you, that is not a small community. It's the 16th largest city in Illinois. And in Illinois, we got a lot of cities. Being in the top 20 gives you clout. She has a voice. Her vote, 75,000 votes in Bolingbrook, is not something you can just brush off and ignore. So she has a powerful platform as an Egyptian American, who's very proud, by the way, to be Arab American. And I think that's the secret to success. You don't come to the United States and argue about all the tragedy and the problems that exist back home in the Middle East. I'm not saying you ignore it. I'm saying you don't come there and go to an American and say, you know, the Palestinians are being abused, they're being oppressed, nobody cares, it's your fault. That was the old message. The new message is you come to this country, you identify with Americans, you show Americans that you're smart, you show Americans that you are intelligent, you show Americans that you care about them, they get to know you, and they care about you. They listen to you, and they then understand when you add, not as the first issue, but as a second issue, what's happening in Egypt needs to change, or what's happening to Palestinians needs to change. That is how you win a battle back home. You don't win a battle back home by having a protest, by yelling and screaming, by calling people names, by writing these by being angry. Americans are busy. They got 2 cars. They got home mortgages. They got kids graduating from college. They have conflict all around them. Palestine is just one of 172 some countries at the United Nations. So you can't just throw your problems in their face. You got to be smart. And I'm telling you, they should teach a class called the Mary Basta class on politics. And when you understand that, instead of saying, hey, one day I'm Palestinian, I want to run for Congress. And I remember 2 years ago, a certain Palestinian came to me and said they wanted to do that. And I said, you're going to run for Congress. What did you ever do in the congressional district? What is it that you did for the people, the voters? And he said, well, that's not the issue. I want to fight for Palestine. I said, that's great. Fight for Palestine. But before you can fight for Palestine, you need to fight for the American people. Anyway, I think that interview was so important. I just want to thank you for listening to the radio show. I want to thank Arab News for always sponsoring this program. And remember, you can get more information by visiting arabnews.com. And on me personally, you go to hanania.com. And I just want to say thank you to everybody and to Layla Hosseini and the Arab News. We will be back next week. We're actually going to be interviewing Arab American comedian and Hollywood actor Ahmed Ahmed. And we're going to have Lebanese NASCAR racer Tony Breidinger. So I hope that we see you on our next show, Wednesday, June 14th at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern in Detroit and Washington, D.C. Have a great week, everybody. We will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.